as you can see in front of me here, this is the box that the cars arrived in. Okay. Now, one thing I was going to point out is I did the same thing with this I did with the other one. I want to go ahead and I want to inspect the box, make sure that there isn't any damage to the box on the sides and on the bottom. Now, this box was just fine when I received it. Now, the one thing I was going to point out is when I received this, there was packing on all four sides of the cars. I had unpacked these already to inspect them anyway, but I'm just showing what to look out for, okay? So as you can see, everything I had when I came in here was packed very nicely with all this bubble wrap and packing. Now I'm going to show you how to inspect the cars, okay? We're going to start with the blue one, okay? Now, if you remember correctly, if you remember from the previous video, I showed you that I had a lot of photographs of these cars. Remember what I was saying about not buying these unless there's enough photographs? Well, that's the reason why. When you're buying these, same thing goes with the cars. You want to have photographs. More photos are better when it comes to these things. Remember, when you're buying cars, just like with engines, now these cars are about $100. They cost me for the two of these with the shipping. You want to have a photograph of this side, a photograph of this side, photograph of this side, photograph of this side, a top photo, and preferably a bottom photo. Now, we're going to start with the bottom. The reason why it's important to have a photo of the bottom is I want to know when I'm buying a car. I want to be able to inspect these wheel bogies under here, these little wheels where they turn. I want to see if there's any damage or anything along here. A photograph will reveal a lot to me. These are very important. These can be expensive to replace if they're damaged. You want to make sure these are in good shape. I also want to be able to try to see if I could look at the photos and the photos as well to determine what type of wheels and things it has. Same thing on this side. A photo is important. These little wheel bogies, same thing here. Now, if you're going to notice in the back of this car here, there's a little coupler here on the back, right here in this photograph here. Let me zoom in. This little coupler right here. If this is missing or this is damaged, I want to be able to know that. That's another reason why you want to have a photograph to be able to tell you that this is in good shape. Now, this is fine. Same thing now, I go to the top. Same thing with the photographs. You want to make sure that none of these little gates or anything like that have gotten broken in shipping. One of the most common things that gets broken in shipping is these little couplers can get broken off on the ends. So you want to, now this was packed beautifully, so I didn't have any problems, but you want to inspect that for damage. Then you want to make sure all the little gates and everything are in place, okay, as they are. Now, and also the door and everything is good. And everything here was good. I inspected all these next, and I found everything there was good. Now, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to want to inspect the ends of the cars. Make sure that there's nothing broken here. Now, this is all in good shape. Make sure that the edges aren't broken, and these are fine on both sides. Now, one of the things about passenger cars that can happen, if a car like this gets dropped, if it's dropped on the ground, one thing that can happen is if you look in the photos here, you're going to see there's little steps here on each of these cars. There's a little step that comes down right here. These little steps can get broken off very easily. You want to make sure in the photographs that you can inspect that to make sure these steps are in place. As you can see, there's 4 of them. There's one there. There's one here. There's one here, and that's fine. And as you can see in the photographs here when I show you, as you can see, these hang down from the side of the car. These can get broken off if a car is dropped, and that's something you want to be able to see in the photographs, okay? And then this is fine here. So this car basically checked out okay. You want to make sure all the steps and everything are in place and that none of these steps are broken. Now, the next thing you want to do is, what I like to do is you want to inspect the roof. Make sure that there aren't any chips or anything out of the roof when it's been shipped. This is fine, as I checked it. Now, there's one thing you're going to notice that's missing on this car. On the top of the car, there's a little roof support that goes from here to here. It's a little piece that goes in here, and it supports the roof. Now, I knew in the photographs that this car did not have those. Those are something that I'm going to order that I knew I would have to, because fortunately I knew they weren't there, and that was another reason why having photographs is important. Those little roof supports can cost anywhere from $20 to $30 depending on where you're buying them at. That was another thing to consider when I bought this car. Now, fortunately, I have a friend that has some. I'm going to probably get from him, so I won't have to probably buy those. But that's the other thing too. Then you want to look the car over. You want to inspect the glass, make sure all the glass and everything is in place as it is. Okay. Now, as you can see, this car is fine. Now I'm going to go to the red car. Now I'm going to show that to you next. Now, well, something to keep in mind too is these cars have a roof that you can actually remove. What you do to remove these, you lift up on both ends gently like this, and then you actually can take the top off on the inside, okay? And then you can inspect the inside. Now, you aren't necessarily going to have a photograph of the inside of the car, but as you can see, the cars are decked out. Now, all these parts inside and things like this here can be customized. You can even put little men in here. This is another thing that I knew was in good shape based on the photos, because he had photographs of the inside of the car as well. Okay, so that's the blue car. Now we're going to go. Now we're going to go to the red car. Okay. Now, same thing applies when you're looking at the red car. You just want to do a quick visual inspection. The underside and everything is good. Both wheel sets are good. Coupler and everything is good. Okay, and then this is good here. Okay, this is another reason why you want to have multiple photos. If you only have one photo, it's hard to see all the details. Now, as you can see, steps are good. This step is good. This step is good. Okay. Okay, this step is good, and this step is good. So all the steps are good, and the end couplers are good. The end caps are fine. This is another thing on the end of the cars you want to look for. You want to make sure that these little bumpers on the end of the cars right here, I'm going to show you. Make sure that those little bumpers are in place and aren't broken off. Same thing with the gates, okay? Those are all good. Side gates are all good. Doors are all good. I checked all that, and this car basically looks very good from what you can see here. Everything's in place, okay? Same thing goes here, that the doors and things open and close, and that's one of the things you want to see. Now, keep in mind that when you're buying a car like this, the amount of details, now as you can see, this has doors. The amount of details that you have are going to be based on the price of the car. Now, you can see, as once again, I need those little roof supports that I'm going to order. The one thing I was going to mention is the cost of the car that you're going to buy. A lot of that's determined by how fancy the car is. Now, this is a more basic car. This isn't real fancy. It's only got two wheels. It's got four wheels, two sets on either one. Depending on the length of the car you're getting and how complicated it is, that's going to greatly vary the price of the car. But the same thing goes with the cars like that. You just want to do a thorough inspection when you get the car, okay, to make sure everything's good.